6:20 or 6:19 p.m. tonight. I apologize for the delay. Closed session went a little longer than anticipated. There is no report of closed session per Government Code 54957.1. And I'd like you all to stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we have approval of the agenda, I would like to ask my fellow board members if they would consider moving action item 7H to 7A. Under action items 7H to 7A. Is there any opposition to this? No. Okay. Then may I have approval of the agenda with 7H to be before 7A? So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay? No nays. Motion passes 5-0. And let us begin with the staff report. Dr. Cora.
Thank you, President Urias. Just a couple of quick announcements. I want to mention that our summer school programs at the elementary level and high school level have been very well attended. And student participation in science camp, as well as other enrichment opportunities, have gone very well. I want to thank our teachers, support staff, nutrition, and administrators for making our summer program a success. As we come to the end of the elementary session, our migrant summer school celebration will be held tomorrow at 6 o'clock p.m. If you're available, please attend, and it's here at Glen City, and everyone is welcome to attend. We also have a graduation ceremony on Thursday, July 18th at 11:30 a.m. at Santa Paula High School. Congratulations to our seniors who have worked hard to complete their requirements and participated in the summer graduation and will be participating in the summer graduation ceremony. I'd like to also acknowledge the district maintenance custodial staff who are working diligently to prepare our facilities for the new school year. No one ever realizes all the work that goes on behind the scenes as they are working hard, so kudos to them. Our 2019-20 registration dates have been set and are now available on our website, our social media sites, and at the district office. And if the public has any questions, the district office is open every day until 4 p.m. And I hope everyone continues to enjoy their summer vacation, so please be safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cora. Public comments. Members of the public that wish to address the board must first complete a speaker form. Speaker forms must be submitted no later than 5 minutes prior to the topic coming up for discussion on the agenda. When addressing the Board of Trustees, please stand and be recognized by the board president, state your full name, and direct your comments to the entire board. Please limit remarks to 3 minutes for all presentations unless otherwise informed. In accordance with Education Code 35145.5, the board cannot enter into a formal discussion or make a decision on any matter not on the agenda for this meeting. And it appears we have one public speaker form, Mr. Juan Ojeda. Oh, it's agenda item. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yes.
Good evening to all members of the board and the audience here present. My name is Juan Ojeda. This evening I would like to apologize for any mistake that I guess I did. There was a meeting 2 Saturdays ago where I was invited and Michelle Corbett was invited. I decided to ask if I can invite my parents, and I decided to make a flyer. I took a picture and I shared with friends and I posted in the Facebook of Santa Paula. And in the flyer I put Michelle Corbett, who is member of the board of Santa Paula Unified School District, will be there. I'm not sure if I didn't supposed to do that, but I want to apologize if there is any mistake. I didn't use it for any bad intention. but with a good intention that people know that she will be there as a member of the board. And that's it. Thank you so much.
May I ask what meeting this was?
It was a meeting for parents. I guess they are called coalition. Yes. And I was invited, and I asked them if I can invite my parents, and they said sure. So I decided to make a flyer. I made it. I took a picture, but in the flyer I put this information. I have a little conversation with Gina Ramirez, and if there is a mistake, I want to apologize for it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ojeda. Okay, we'll go on to information items. 6A, Board Policy 1330, Community Relations, Use of School Facilities. Dr. Cora.
Did we skip, sorry, Ms. Andrews, did we skip a superintendent's report?
No, he gave it.
Oh, I thought you were gonna, excuse me, I thought you were gonna pass it on to us who, committee members for, like you usually do.
Oh.
You know, we go to superintendent's report.
Oh, did you have something?
I
Yeah, it's not on there.
didn't see it on there, so I thought that's, report.
Can we advance or give an opportunity?
Yeah, we can probably talk.
Okay, why don't we go ahead and do that during the discussion part of this agenda item? Well, it's not a discussion. Well, it is. It can be.
Yeah.
All right, Dr. Cora.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes. So I want to quickly mention Board Policy 1330, Community Relations, Use of School Facilities. It does tie into the conversation because on a week from yesterday, we had a district/city joint committee meeting over at City Hall. And the mayor and council member, the city managers, president, myself, and Mr. Luna and Ms. Colbeck were present as well. So, you know what, if that's I'd like to turn it over to our two board members who are there, because it's the same information we present, but it has to do with use of facilities, and in particular with one of the local groups. So, Mr. Luna, Ms. Colbeck.
Actually, I'll turn it over to Ms. Colbeck on this one. I just wanted to speak in regards to other stuff we covered during that meeting, not so much the use of school facilities.
This was part of the discussion in the joint committee because, if some of you hadn't known, they had been sent out publicly that T Park and Las Pergas Park were going to be closed because they were running the recreation programs at these parks due to lack of school facilities. And at that point, many parents were very upset because they didn't have their child in the summer program, so they went to the public park and it was closed. We also had, we were also serving a free and reduced lunch, and then they felt unwelcome. So it was that kind of combination. And then it also had come up that there were, parents were trying to enroll their children into AYSO, and the information and misinformation was that they would have to go to Fillmore because AYSO could no longer afford, even at our minimum level, to run the program in Santa Paula because they had to have custodians on site for practices or pay for custodians. So the discussion is that, we're here for the students. We're here, and whether the students are in session or not in session, we go to great lengths to provide the science camp. We go to great lengths to have students get their, their credits back. But yet we don't go to great lengths to make sure that these youth programs keep the kids healthy and off the street, because we all know that being in sports and doing better in education go hand in hand. So part of our discussion was, look, we're both the biggest public entities, and if an organization, or we come up with where we both put money in the pot to help these youth programs because they're already charging a minimum fee. And it's because if AYSO had to move to Fillmore, which it turns out they don't this year, but if they did, how many students cannot travel to Fillmore? So that was part of the discussion with the city, and this is a great policy, and I know we bend over backwards, but I hope as we move forward that we even look deeper, because we're not talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're talking asking community to maybe help us put together a fund so that we can provide the facilities for our students during the year.
Can we touch on that? Maybe we could look into our LCAP and anything like that to help out fund that, because I think that being involved in sports programs or the outside activities will keep the students engaged and out of trouble. And when they're out of trouble, they will be engaged in the classroom. They won't be engaged in the classroom.
And to Ms. Colbeck and to Mr. Luna's comments, it's what we talked about in the city joint district meeting. One of the things that was discussed about the possibility of splitting the cost to help the AYSO to use the facilities. And I mentioned the thing that we need to be careful of is if we help one group, then we need to be careful when policy will either have to be changed or we need to consider doing that for other groups as well. So again, we talked about it, joint use, joint committee meeting, and again, it comes down to either we change policy or if we do help cover the cost of the city. The city talked about maybe splitting half of that, and I think the total cost would be about $5,000. But if we do that, then we just have to talk about if we do that for other groups who may come forward as well.
You know, it's a discussion that's ongoing, but again, we can't afford the Blazers. The track program is already in Fillmore. And when students get to the high school, there were hundreds of track students, but they didn't have the opportunity to grow and bring up because they could no longer afford to use the facilities in our own town. And to me, as leaders of youth, that should become a prime discussion when setting priorities. And I have to give the city credit in that they did react quickly. They got fencing up, and so both playgrounds are now open, and then the feeding program was made more accessible to the public. So I do give them credit for people acting quickly. But again, we have limited parks. Our students, our demographics are free and reduced lunch. We poured lots of money into the music program because it feels it important, and this might just be another.
Other thoughts, comments about Board Policy 1330, community relations, use of school facilities, and AYSO, and thought about making a contribution and changing policy? Not that this is an action I might have to bring it back, but.
Well, my thought is that number one, kids are our number one priority. However, I think that our number one priority is academic achievement and the safety of our students. Now, having said that, we also have to look at our budgetary concerns. We've been talking about our budget a lot lately and how we're could be operating at a deficient or are operating at a deficient. So we need to consider a lot of things, and even though it would be wonderful if we could fund this even halfway, but I'm just saying that there's things to consider, and we need to look at the cost not only of this program, but the other programs. And I agree with my fellow board members that this is a small community, we're a family. It would be nice if we could afford it. However, we need to look at the entire picture. And that's what I'm going to comment at this time.
I'd like to see us at least look into it to see if we can help, because I think it is important. to keep these things ongoing. It really does help the kids so much in so many ways. And a lot of times parents are asked to pay also, and a lot of parents, it's very difficult for them to get that money together. For some of us it's not as hard, but for some people it is. So I think we need to at least look into it. I think there's no problem in just looking into it, see what we can do.
So like Kenley, what I'm hearing from the board then is, I'll meet with City Manager Michael Rock and talk about some different options. When does soccer season start for AYSA? August? Beginning of August? Okay. But we don't bill till the end of the season, is that correct? So if I bring it back to the August board meeting, I have time to meet with Michael Rock and City Manager to talk about some options. Yeah.
And I think too is that if we got the ball rolling, I think there's enough generous people in town that if they knew about some of these programs struggling to keep them in Santa Paula, they would step forward. Because again, we're not talking hundreds of thousands, but I know that the two programs that Steve and Pierre just does a great deal with the students, but it costs. And so even if you add up Boys and Girls Club and those two programs, there's still over 3,000 students in K through 8 that have nothing for the summer. And so if it's just helping them, sports and things like that, I think it's a good way to. But again, I'm with Tina, is that it's something that we have to look for. As you said, for
Thank you.
Yeah, too bad there's a chamber mixer going on right now. It'd be nice if maybe they'll hear it on tape of this meeting. Okay. Thank you very much. 6B, first reading, History, Social Science Textbook Adoption Grades, 9 through 12. Dr. Cora.
Thank you, President Riz. I'd like to, at this time, I'm going to introduce Mary Ellen Garcia, our grade 6 through 12 Common Core Coordinator, who will give a little bit of information regarding the History and Social Science Textbook Adoption for grades 9 through 12. Ms. Garcia.
Thank you. Good evening, Board President Sharias, Board members, Dr. Cora, and Cabinet. Included in this agenda item is a one-page summary that is in your board packet for the recommendation of adoption of the Santa Paula High School History Social Science curriculum. And all materials are available in the district office foyer. They're on display for review. And I can direct you to the PowerPoint. We will go over our process. So our course pilot teams were for each course at Santa Paula High School that encompasses history, so world and U.S. history, economics, and government. Their recommendations, respectively, are McGraw-Hill and National Geographic. We had two 6-week sessions that we piloted, 2 curriculums each. So for world history, in January and February, they piloted McGraw-Hill, and then March, April 2nd session, they piloted Pearson. U.S. history first piloted National Geographic, and then Pearson in the second session. The economics course piloted McGraw-Hill and Pearson in the second session. And our government courses piloted McGraw-Hill in the first session and Pearson in the second session. So each session was comprised of a minimum of 2 history, social science pilot teachers, including special education. So our curriculum was evaluated in 4 areas, which reflect the shifts in the history social science framework, which are inquiry, literacy, citizenship, and content, which is aligned to the history social science standards, including primary and secondary sources. We also looked at our district needs, which support English language learners, our special education students, with a focus on inquiry opportunities to include academic conversation opportunities as part of that inquiry process. If you can look, as you can see from our graphs, each pilot is represented in a color. So McGraw-Hill is blue, Pearson is yellow, and you can see that for the world history pilot team, McGraw-Hill strongly was outranked our Pearson, and so for world history, McGraw-Hill was selected. For U.S. history pilot team, again, they piloted National Geographic and Pearson. National Geographic is in blue and Pearson is in the yellow. And again, you can see that National Geographic outweighed in each category, each of the 4 ships. The economics course, they piloted again McGraw in the blue and Pearson in the yellow. And McGraw, again, outweighed for each category. You can see citizenship was a little neck and neck there, but. And then for the government courses, again, McGraw in the blue and Pearson in the yellow, and McGraw-Hill outweighed in each category as well. So the recommendations then would be that world history, economics and government would like to recommend adoption of McGraw-Hill, and the U.S. history would like to recommend the adoption of National Geographic. We anticipate ordering materials immediately following the pending board approval for use, which would begin in the 2nd quarter. May I answer any questions for you?
No, it just looks like it was a very thoughtful process that went into the selection of the curriculum. I was pleased to see that the focus areas were English learners, special ed students, and others. So I'm happy with the analysis that went into developing the curriculum. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had just one question.
Oh,
sorry.
sure.
So I was looking at the books in the district office, and I noticed there were consumables. Is that going to be, are the kids going to be home to actually use those, or are they going to have to make copies? Or
But they will be, as for the life of the adoption, they will be included. And in addition, online materials for each of the sources are also available. So all the consumables are in addition online as well as in print.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
No problem.
6C, first reading, California School Board Association policy updates. Dr. Cole.
Thank you, President Urias. There are a good handful of board policies that are being presented to the board for first reading. One of the ones that I want to point out, because it's been brought up at previous board meetings, there's a major revision to board policy administrative regulation 5131.2, bullying. And so some of the changes that were made discuss training staff members, and so here this evening to see if there's any questions regarding any of the policies for first reading. I will bring it back to second reading, but again, I wanted to bring out and discuss the 5131.2 bullying. That was one that's been talked about many times.
I noticed in the policy, it says the superintendent and designee shall develop strategies for addressing bullying in district schools with the involvement of students, parents, guardians, and staff. And I'd like to just know, it seems, I'm not sure that we're doing that right now, at least from all the comments that have been made. So maybe we could go to more of that model, involving those that are the ones that are being affected.
And it's one of the things we talked about this morning in our cabinet meeting, discussing with Jeff Argent taking the lead role in our safety and the school safety plan, the district safety plan, reviewing that in the leadership team meetings, in particular because that policy could be pretty much, there's a lot of new information in there. So one of our very first leadership team meetings, bringing that up and discussing it, what are the changes and what things need to be done to make sure we're following the policy.
And I was just kind of, how sometimes you have to use kind of Google. San Diego Unified, that's what it's called, the school district, they have a bullying reporting right online, and it goes straight in, and then it disseminates, and they can track it, and we might, as we move forward setting goals, those are kind of things that we might look into, making it easier for those that are bullied, whatever, to just do it online. It doesn't have to escalate to an investigation, but with some kind of verbal comment, just telling someone they're being bullied can be told to someone maybe once, 2, 3 times, and then the actual situation is escalated. But it was interesting, very simple online reporting of an incident.
And as I meet the board on Wednesday, July 24th, we can talk about setting goals, which you just mentioned there about if that needs to be a priority on the board, and the direction that you're going.
I think Brandon Sportell told us about an app that he and some relatives have that is that type of app that you could just, so you guys can, so we could talk to you about that.
And that app is called, what you said, San Diego School District?
Right, and it was very simple. I mean, that's one avenue, but it might be a start.
Ms. Thompson, thank you for your comment.
I just really appreciate how much more specific and clear-cut this policy is than what we had in the past. Reading just a week ago what ours is and how this goes more into depth and gives more guidance. I really appreciated that. So we'll lead into some good discussions.
And it clearly defined the.
Yes.
Any other questions on any of the other proposed policies? Thank you.
Before we go to action item 7H, I just wanted to tell Mr. Luna, perhaps you could give your comments. We kind of passed over you. Maybe you could give your comments on the city meeting during board member comments?
Yes, I will gladly.
Okay, I didn't want you to think, okay, great. All right. Action item 7H. Second reading and adoption of board policy 5148, student voter registration. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Discussion. Okay. Before we have a discussion, we're going to go ahead and have public comments since we have several. So, Aldo Gonzalez.
Good evening, members of the school board and superintendent. So, my name is Aldo, and I'm here with the college to support the passing of the voter registration policy. This policy will essentially give high school seniors the opportunity to register or pre-register to vote or to vote. This policy will entail students in the electoral process. It'll make voting more accessible to them. It'll include a presentation that will help students understand the importance and history of voting, and it'll overall just get more needs met in the community with there being more voters. These are just a few among many rewards that will benefit not only our students, but our community in general as well, including myself and everyone else in this room. So I ask the board to please pass this policy. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Alejandra Ayala.
Alejandra Ayala, and I'm here to endorse the voter registration policy and speak about why having voter registration is important to me as a student. As a member of a community full of beautiful people of color, I know that it's very important to have better access to information on how to pre-register to vote. For most of us, registering to vote isn't taught at home, and even if it isn't an easy process. I believe that having some time in one of my classes dedicated to registering would make this easier on myself and the rest of the students in my community. As a minority, it's important for our voices to be heard as early as possible. Along with making our voices stronger, this would also help our communities grow by making us more engaged in choosing our own elected officials. To conclude, I know that having this policy passed would benefit us all as a whole and give us more representation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yesenia Ponce.
Good evening, members of the school board and superintendents. My name is Yesenia, and I'm a youth leader with COS. I'm here to talk about the voter registration, which will be providing the seniors the opportunity to pre-register and to register in school in one of their econ and government class. As you guys may know, not everyone knows how to register or where to go when it comes to this situation. Most communities with people of color, they're not always taught at home and don't get this information as others that have family members with experience of voting. If you pass this policy, the students will be more trained and educated, and there will be more voters who will represent the communities and their needs. This will be an easier process and make it more accessible for the youth representation, which is something that we need. Having this policy passed will mean more voters and more voices heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ponce. Lana Harcha?
Good evening, members of the school board and superintendent. I am a youth leader in COS, and I'm here to talk about why we need the voter registration to pass as part of the high school econ and government class. So for so long, I've always wanted the youth of my generation and the many before us to voice out their concerns by voting on the important issues that we see happen before us. And I've always wondered why the youth aren't getting involved in the voting process. And I've just come to realize that nobody tries to reach out to us and inform us on where we can pre-register and the process of it. The process itself is hard, and it's not very accessible to many. We are told to vote, but no one tells us how or guides us through it. Although this problem can be solved by implementing this policy in our high schools, the effects this policy will have on all of us will bring many great changes for our communities. I want this policy to pass because I want to see changes in my community and for my generation and for the generations to come. By providing this to the high schools, it will give easier access to those who need it. I'm asking of you today to pass this policy. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Priscilla Nunez.
Good evening, members of the school board and superintendent. My name is Priscilla Nunez, and I'm a leader with COS. As a student, I'm here to urge you to pass the voter registration policy for Santa Paula School District. This policy needs to be passed because our youth needs representation. Our youth are often excluded from major events such as voting because of lack of knowledge or accessibility to the resources, as well as lack of understanding of the importance of voting. We are told to vote but not the why. We're told to do it but not the how. And with the 2020 elections coming up, we need as many students to register to vote because we need representation and we need to see the change that we need in our communities. The process can be confusing, and that can unmotivate people to want to register. As someone who has been told countless times by people in schools that voting is important, yet haven't been told or explained the why or the how, I know that this is important and this is needed. I'm here to ask you to pass this voter registration policy because we need it, but the why and the how come first. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Araceli Martinez.
Good evening, members of the school board and superintendent. My name is Araceli, and I am a youth leader from CAUS. As a student, I believe this policy for voting registration should be a requirement for seniors at Santa Paula High School. As a student, this will impact me in a good way because my parents aren't citizens themselves, so they will not know how to inform me on how to register to vote. If this policy passes, students will have the advantage to register to vote in an easy and accessible way. This will not only be good for myself, but also for the people after me, and it will have an impact in my community because our voices will be heard, because there will be more youth representation. I'm here to ask you to pass voting registration as a policy. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Zulema Rodriguez.
Good evening, members of the school board and superintendent. My name is Zulema. I'm a student at Santa Paula High School and a youth leader with CAUS. I'm here to endorse the passing of the voter registration policy. I believe this policy will benefit the students by involving the youth in the electoral process, providing the students easier access to the registration process, and providing the students with the opportunity to learn and understand the importance and history of voting. Santa Paula already has a low voter turnout rate, and a big part of the reason why is because many students don't know where or how to register. Allowing students to register and be given a presentation about the importance of voting in class will help ensure a larger voter turnout rate. Not everyone has the privilege to vote, which is why it's important to get those who can vote to come out and vote. I've heard from many adults that the youth aren't interested in voting or in politics, but that's just not true. We're just not given the information necessary for us to get involved. We are here voicing the reason why the youth don't vote, and we are here supporting a solution. I ask you please pass this policy. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Pedro Luis Rodriguez.
Good evening, member of the school board and superintendent. My name is Pedro Luis Rodriguez, and I'm actually allowed to be a senior at the high school, so 3 years. And I almost got me. So, I myself can't tell you what other students think. All I can tell you is by my experience. The only time I ever thought about voting, I ever got any information of it, was from my history classes. And freshman year, we don't have it. So, didn't learn anything about it until sophomore. A lot of the students I know personally from friendships or a friend of a friend, they themselves don't know that they can also pre-register to vote. A lot of the times so many students are so busy, so many people just don't have the time and don't consider it as an important factor as getting their grade and doing the test or something else. And to them, it's just not as important. So, with this voting registration policy that's passed and gives seniors the option and opportunity to pre-register or even register to vote, and learn the history, but also the importance of why it's important. At that point, it's a huge benefit not only to the students at the high school, but also to members in the community, because you get a bigger voter turnout, you get bigger statistics on what people actually think and how they think. So, I believe that being a student and seeing what I've seen and experienced what I've experienced, this would be extremely beneficial, not only to the high school students, but members yourselves, because you get to see just what students are actually thinking. And the big upside is a lot of the students, we all have different opinions, all different personalities based on how we're raised and experiences we believe in. But if we're all registered to vote or pre-registered to vote, then it doesn't matter the differences we have. We all have the opportunity to at least give our opinion in a way that we believe would benefit us or the opinions we have ourselves. So, as a student myself, I ask you, please definitely see the benefits of why passing a voter registration act here in the Santa Paula High School would be very beneficial. And that's about it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And last but not least, Olsi Kwong.
Hi, and good evening. My name is Lucila Rejon. I'm a community organizer with CAUSE, and I'm here today with the incredible youth and some of our adults in CAUSE. As CAUSE stands for Center Coast Alliance United for Sustainable Economy. You're never going to have to remember that. But the work that we do is to civically engage our grassroots leaders in local politics. And oftentimes when I do these presentations, one of the questions that I always ask is if they know who's on their school board or even who's on their city council. And oftentimes the response that I get is a blank stare. Oftentimes they kind of name who's their superintendent, but that's about it. Yeah, so once youth become engaged in our organization, CAUSE, they learn who their representatives are, from school board to city council to representatives at the state level. They learn what government looks like, what these city council and school board meetings look like, what propositions and ballot measures even are. And oftentimes this is the first time they're exposed to civic engagement. And even after all this work that we do as organizers, during elections, what I saw is that while all my Oxnard youth were sending me pictures of their I just voted stickers, I didn't receive any from Santa Paula. And so I was curious and I followed up with a lot of my Santa Paula youth who have been engaged civically, and I asked them why they didn't vote, and they shyly responded that they weren't registered to vote. And that's the first step, right? And so the only difference between these two cities, between the youth that I was able to work with, is that Oxnard Unified High School District has a voter registration policy. And they've successfully registered over 2,000 students every year. And that's a huge number that gets students more civically engaged. And as communities who have been denied the right to vote, as communities of color, as women, as working class individuals, in the U.S. for years, it's no surprise that we have low voter turnout rates. And one of the first steps that we can do in order to make our students more civically engaged is pass a voter registration policy. And all that does is it gives the opportunity for students to register to vote so they don't graduate and go trying to find where or how or when to register, and they don't know all the details. So we're here today, I'm here today with the youth to ask you all to pass this voter registration policy with a curriculum that more importantly tells and shows you why it's important to vote. It's one thing to put something in their hands and say you have the opportunity to vote, and it's another thing to show them why it's so important. So with that, we ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Olsi.
President, can I say something?
Yes, please.
I just want to quick maybe comment, and I'm going to say I'm extremely impressed when students come up, and first of all, speaking publicly is not an easy thing to do, but I'm impressed when students come up prepared and speak so intelligently, and so it's a compliment to you, so nice job to each one of you.
So, any discussion from the board?
President Urias, I have spoken to many former high school students in the community, and they have all expressed interest to educate our future voters. The reason for it is, well, it's a major thing historically that people get the right to vote, and yes, I understand that people can go out and vote, but I think we should encompass it around the classroom in regards to not necessarily telling people to vote for it, but like setting them up for future success on how to vote. Here's the registration process, here's how you can pre-register, here's why it's important to vote, and look at the historical aspect as well. You know, it shouldn't really cost us anything, right? We're not paying for those voter registration forms, they give it for free. And I'm a firm believer that we train a teacher how to properly do it, present it to the students so that they're able to register to vote, and why it's important in the historical aspect of it. I think it's a great one to put it in our policy.
Any other comments from the board?
I think it's a good thing to have it as a policy. I know that Mr. Arguelles over the years always taught it. My children learned that if they registered to vote and when they turned 18, the first thing they got in the mail was to serve on a jury. So that was the one thing that it's time to have it as a policy. But I give compliment to Mr. Arguelles who did it on his own all those years and it's awesome.
Well, this will be more widespread than just Mr. Arguelles' class. It will be for all those eligible and ready, and it looks like you are. So at this point, I would like to take a vote from the board, whether to, I'd like to ask for a vote on this motion. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? No. Motion passes 5-0. And I'd like to thank the youth and the adults who came and spoke on behalf of this well-needed policy. Thank you very much. At this time, we'll go to action item 7A, donations. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second? Second. Any discussion?
I want to thank Limonera for the donation for helping us with the visioning.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And thank you to all our contributions, all our donations, I should say. Okay. 7B, public hearing disclosure of proposed collective bargaining agreement, Assembly Bill 1200. Dr. Cora.
Yes, at this time we are opening a public hearing for any member from the public to speak publicly on the proposed collective bargaining agreement AB 1200.
I will open this public hearing at 7:05 p.m. Any members from the audience like to address the board? Seeing none, the public hearing will close at 7:06 p.m. 7C, collective bargaining agreement and memorandum of understandings between the Santa Paula Unified School District and Santa Paula Federation of Teachers, number 2071, dated July 1/19 through June 30th, 2022. Is there a motion?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. 7D. Is there a motion? Is there a motion for single plan for student achievement?
So moved. Second.
Discussion.
I keep looking at the math scores, and I think it's crucial that we just keep looking at our LCAP and figuring out what actually is working. And maybe we can do more printed surveys or something better, just to check things out, not just the school, but across the board, and see how we can continue helping our students succeed in that, as well as English.
I was going to say very quickly, I'm not sure if this will prompt more discussion or maybe answer some quick, but the board member asked about single plan student achievement. Are they the same? Have they changed? And Ms. Ramirez would like to briefly share what she does with principals in regards to single plan for student achievement. Ms. Ramirez?
Actually, we do annual examination that takes place in April, where all principals take to look along with their school site councils to evaluate the performance of the place to see whether they're working or not working. And the goal then is I meet with every principal and we discuss, what is working, what isn't working. Are you using, is there that item that you're using really working or not, and how do you change it? So some examples is that last year we had a conversation about parent teacher, about writing and doing math. The principal decided to purchase a new program that's going to help with reading and math. At the middle school, there's a big discussion about English learners and how to support them while they're at middle school. So an action was put in place to be able to support the English learners at the middle school, along with implementing and hiring at least one intervention teacher who will support and monitor students' progress when they're on doing intervention. So those are just some of the examples that I have, as well as the high school has also dedicated some time to and money to be able to educate their parents. So there is a more focus at all school sites to involve our parents and send them to trainings like that. One of the things that they actually dedicate some money to. So those are some of the examples that we have that to be able to ensure that we really are using our Title I money as a supplement. So as you know, Title I is above and beyond, right? So we have to have the core and we have to see what are we going to add on to the ice cream. So we don't take away, if you want, you have to add cherry to make things better. So that's how it is for our students. We have to improve and add to what already we have to make sure that our students do improve academically. That's the goal. And to include our parents in that conversation.
Thank you, Mr. Hernandez. Ms. Colby, you were saying something?
Should Gina remain at the podium? Are you going to ask any questions? Sorry. These single plans are written for Title I, but the fact is there's really good information in it, but each one of them is like 86, I shouldn't say that, my husband would just, there's 86 pages. So what happens is it just gets into, it's kind of like the school safety plans. And we think that we should dig deep because there's some really good things in there that parents are concerned about. Number one is, what is the intervention? What can I expect? How do I get it? How does my child get it? One of the, and most of them, Isabel, Santa Paula High School, it talked about that at 6 weeks, the student would be starting to get intervention. And then it laid out. So the thing is there's really good things in here. I'm just concerned it just is in a document that's been done, off the books. So the question is, how can we get some of these really good key components out of this single plan to affect all of our students and like Mr. Lewis concerns about math and then English language learners and that.
So you're saying, how do we extract some of the...
Yeah, because there's really, and there's bullying in here, all of that is really good. Just because we have it on a document doesn't mean it's being done.
I just wanted to add that we put the academics, of course, as a priority for this next year, and extra emphasis on it with special board meetings, which I really appreciate. It will give us the 2 academics and then back to our budget. Are we spending a lot of money on something that's not working well at one school? Can we try it at other schools? This type of conversation. So I really appreciate bringing this up at the special meetings, and like Mrs. Colbeck was saying, there's some really good things in here that we can add to that conversation.
I just wanted to add that for the, whenever we have intervention at Title I, we do have to monitor that as they submit that data into. So, and that's why the annual evaluation is so crucial. And it's in every SPSA every year. And the difference this year that the SPSA has to be aligned to our LCAP goal because it all goes together. It can't be separate things. It's supposed to support what the whole district mission is. I hope that answers the question.
So you're saying somebody's looking at all of these pages. Okay, I think the board is just saying perhaps it could be done in a way that's more visible, more tangible, more hands-on. And I think we're going to be working on that. Thank you.
We have 7 special board meetings, and we still have to get the board the topics of those 7 to make sure that we look at those topics and it's good.
If there's no further discussion, okay, we have a vote on it. Call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. 7E, approval for early entrance to transitional kindergarten. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, or Dr. Cole?
Thank you, President Reyes. It's just, we have 2 students who are after the December 1st, 2nd deadline. One is Christmas, December 25th, and the other one's shortly right around that time as well. And staff is making recommendations to the board to consider approving those 2 to get them to school. And while we will not be receiving any EDA for them when they first arrive, when we turn 5, we will. And our recommendations are to get them to school and get them started early.
Is there a process or how, I know it's case by case, but who decides whether its child is ready?
Ms. Sheffield, our assistant superintendent of curriculum instruction, has discussions with the parents, and she's not here this evening. I'm not sure if she meets with the principal or not, but Mr. Maris?
And do parents as a whole know that they have that option, or is it, I mean, it was years ago, but I don't think I would know the petition. There's a cutoff date and
It's not something that we publicize.
Thank you, Ms. Interpreter. Muchas gracias. Okay, all those in favor of passing 7E, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. 7E. Okay, 7F, application for funding of the agricultural incentive grant 2019-20. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. 7G, establish one 5.5 hours a day, 27 hours a week instructional assistant special education position at McKevitt School. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. 7I, Dude Solutions Incorporated software contract. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes.
Issues, can I make a comment very quickly? And this is more so for those in the audience. The board is prepped on all of these items in advance, and we have one-on-one meetings and there's discussions that are having clarification so they understand. So I think it's important because sometimes when there's not a discussion, there's not questions, they're prepped in advance and they have all their questions, most of their questions answered in advance. So I think it's important for the public to understand that.
Thank you, Dr. Cora. We're not a rubber stamp board.
No. And trust me, I have my work cut out for me prior to these meetings.
Then we will go on to 7. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Mrs. Sweet. 7J, copier lease and maintenance services with Southern California Office Technologies. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
If Dr. Park could just kind of explain, because for those people that are just, watching
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, so for 7J, staff is recommending to the board consider to approve the copier lease and maintenance service with, sorry about that, Due Solutions software contract. Thank you.
Pass that. We already approved that.
Yeah, we just didn't get an explanation on the last one, so I'm going to stick it in there so that.
So we're talking 7J.
Yes.
So my own staff's throwing curveballs at me. All right. 7J. Copier lease and maintenance service with SoCal Office Technologies. I'm going to have Ms. Stashevsky talk about this one because she's going to get the credit for it. I'll just briefly say that things were not centralized, they were not unified, and Ms. Stashevsky gets the credit for doing that. So why don't you share with the board how you did that?
Okay, so let me start by saying I don't get all the credit. Sally Rowland helped me quite a bit with this whole process, so I'll publicly thank her. Upon coming to Santa Paula Unified, a lot of information coming at you, I came to the realization that unlike what I was accustomed to, sites were making their own lease agreements. So we were at different terms and different funding things. So there was just a jumble, and everyone had a different start and end date on their leases. So my goal this year was to get to the point to send out an RFP so that we can try to consolidate all of our machines onto one lease payment. Because that's going to give us a couple things. We're going to get economies of scale because we have better bargaining power going as a whole, saying we want 32 machines, not onesies and twosies here and there. Also, we're going to have more control over service quality. And we'll be able to hold them more accountable for service quality instead of trying to deal with multiple different vendors on different terms and different service agreements. So we went out for an RFP, originally for 32 machines, but just what we currently have just applied. Upon evaluating the buyout, so they're all on different terms, some are going to end sooner than others. 8 of those 32 machines, or 25% of the machines, are relatively newer leases, and they took up about 66% of the total buyout. So we amended the RFP to go down to 24 machines, and we had 9 respondents. Of those 9 respondents, only 3 completed all the requirements of the proposal, and those are the 3 that are included in the board packet. Of that, all other criteria equal, as you can see in the matrix that was attached. We basically have presented the one with the lowest cost option for the district. So that's SoCal Office Technologies. And if the board were to approve this contract, I will be working closely with that organization to look at when we can roll those 8 machines into this same lease, whether it be now or a few years from now, with the goal at the end of this 5-year term that all machines expire and we go through this whole process again for one lease for all the machines. We got lower payments across the board. We also got lower cost per copy.
So, if there's no more discussion, we have a vote. I call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. G. Explain exactly what we're doing. 7K, authorization to proceed with bidding phase for electrical upgrade projects. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Discussion. Dr. Carr, did you want to explain what this is just briefly?
Sure, I'm not going to steal this discussion from the board, but I can move on. Sure. In a nutshell, staff is asking the board to approve the authorization to proceed with bid phase for electrical to allow the district to continue moving forward with air conditioning in our schools. Anything to add to that?
So this is actually the electrical infrastructure to support future air conditioning, as well as any other electrical needs we might have in the future, so and also support technology. So we've gone through all the architectural design and engineering phases, and now we'd like to go out and bid that. And Doug would like to come up and, if you have any more details, Mr. Henning.
I don't have any more details. Dr. Corey stole our thunder.
You did. We'll see what to say.
Okay, and just that the money will be taken from our bond measures that were passed for both the elementary and the high school. So all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. 7L, GOGO, LCAP, infographic agreement. Do I have a motion? So moved.
Second.
Discussion. I'd like to start with Dr. Cora since he initiated this.
There was a strategic plan meeting that was part of back in San Diego High School District. And as we were sitting there in one of the meetings, they passed out their LCAP. And their LCAP, like ours was like 190 some pages long. And they passed out the LCAP in a 6-page graphic design. I remember seeing at the time thinking, this is the LCAP. It wasn't the true LCAP. It was summary of graphics, numbers, pie charts that was so easy to understand. And we thought it's important for our parents to understand the LCAP, but who's going to pick up a 90-some page document and read it? So we decided to go ahead and ask the board to approve this evening. The contract with GOGO, LCAP, and infographic to have our LCAP done in a graphic kind of way. So that's what it is, and we received one product that we really enjoyed, and I know the parents will as well. Very easy to understand.
So we'll still have the two, we'll still have the long one.
The 192 pages, is it 192? 190-something. That's the actual LCAP, which is available to anybody. It's on our website. But this infographic will be readily available for anybody to easily see.
And I noticed they have the translation portion of it.
I'm Dr. Cora. I just want to commend you for bringing this up to the board because Ms. Lee and myself had mentioned it previously beforehand. We went to a national government training down in Monday, and one of the board members out there showed us his lovely infographic design. And let me tell you, that can explain the LCAP, really. And I'm pretty sure parents will love this great, colorful explanation with charts and everything on it, and especially since it's in Spanish as well, a lot of good reason. I just want to see if we can possibly insert this at all times, just like we did for graduation, something like that, possible.
It's been on the list, and we're going to get that done. Yeah.
Calling for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? None. Motion passes 5-0. 7M, Ventura County Office of Education, Migrant Education, Region 17, Memorandum of Understanding. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Discussion.
Thank you, President Ruiz. Very quickly, and again, my information may or may not prompt discussion from the board, but as VCOE has taken back the migrant education program, an MOU has to be put in place between our district and VCOE to determine the type of services, what we expected. And I know Mr. Ramirez works closely with Mr. Dr. Mendoza with VCOE. So if there's any questions regarding the MOU, then Mr. Ramirez works closely with Dr. Mendoza. Just want to answer your questions.
Okay, I'd like to call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. 7N, quarterly report on Williams uniform complaints. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Second. Discussion. Okay, before we go into discussion, we do have a speaker form. Just received it from Mr. Ojeda.
Good evening to all members of the board and audience present. My name is Juan Ojeda. As you know, I'm a member of different committees. I have some comments, some concerns, some questions, some complaints, some issues. In my own opinion, we can avoid to go and get to this step when we can work together, parents and district. But it is not easy to everybody when there is no answer to my comments, my concerns, my questions, my complaints, my issues. There is more parents that have problems and don't have an answer to the district, from the principals, from wherever they are trying to get help. And it is not easy for them. I have been in that situation where I have to ask for help and there is no answer. But I guess we can change this. If we increase communication and if we answer what we have to answer right away with whoever needs the help or support, I guess we can avoid to go to this step. I have think about it to make this form about William complaint. Because as you know, I have come here several times giving you some complaints, some concerns, and there is no answer. So many feel like I am coming here to waste my time. For me to be in different committees is because I'm advocating for every single student I can here in my district. Can be my daughters, can be my nephews, any member of my family, any member of my school where I am representing, any member of the school district. We have to work together, but we need to increase communication and answers to emails, to verbal communication, because sometimes there is communication that is verbal, but after that nothing happens. So I would like to suggest that we please, to avoid all of this, we can increase that communication. To end with this comment, I would like to finish sharing this. I know that we want. Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0 for 7N. Which brings us to the consent calendar. Do we have a motion?
If the body can before motion is made, I'd like to ask that item 8B, certificated personnel activity report, and 8F, contracts to be pulled, discuss separately.
Okay, so do I have a motion for 8 A's? Why don't you make a motion?
I move to approve items 8A, 8C, 8D, 8E, 8G, and 8H.
Second. Okay, discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Going back to consent calendar item 8F, we do, even though it's been pulled, we do have a public speaker forum. Oh, okay, I'm sorry, 8B.
So the reason why I asked 8B to be pulled is we have underneath number 1 employment, Dan Burway, who we are recommending as our district nurse to come in and begin working with our staff, students, and what's listed there is effective date 2029 to 2020. So obviously that's a typo, so I'm just asking that it be amended to effective date 2019 2020. So
So do I have a motion to approve 8B?
So
Second. Discussion? All those in favor?
I have a question. Is it possible when there's changes on things, I mean, I don't mind pulling it, it's just that That's a verbal change. If you could have copies for the board and then just a few copies for the public so that we can actually see, because it's not uploaded yet, is it? Is it? I don't know, it's hard to tell.
It's a tab.
It is, but yeah, I think if there's any changes, if we could have a hard copy at the board meeting, I'd appreciate that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Consent calendar 8B passes. Do I have a motion? Okay. Dr. Crowe, would you like to address 8F?
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you.
Do we want to have our public speaker speak first?
Yes, why don't we have our public speaker speak before we have a discussion on 8F? Katie Collins.
My name is Jamie Collins. I'm the Executive Director with Girls Inc. Ventura. We serve in the Ventura Valley as well as Ventura County. We've been in the San Paulo School District for about 3 years now, offering our Gold Teachers Mentoring Program. It's been a $20,000 per school district per year in kind donation to the San Paulo School District on our behalf. And we're excited this next year to be able to expand programming to the 3rd elementary school, as well as offer a friendly Persuasion, which is a substance abuse prevention program to middle school students in the district. So I just wanted to formally introduce myself, as well as thank you for believing in our programs. Girls Inc.'s mission is to inspire all young women to be strong, smart, and bold. And so we hope to continue to do that for many years to come.
Thank you for joining us tonight. Dr. Ford.
Okay, item 8F, I asked to be pulled is for two, against, what you said before, looking forward to future meetings. Supporting hearing dates were listed as August 1, 2018 to June 3rd, 2019. That should be 2019 to 2020. And also for Blackwood Connect, the dates were listed as 2018 to 2019. It should be 2019 to 2020. So before we move on, make sure those are accurate.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? 8F passes 5-0. Thank you very much for those clarifications, Dr. Carr. Board member comments. Mrs. Thompson?
Sure. If you will allow me to read from my phone, I'm not making a personal call right now, but I took some notes because I was looking in the newspaper today, and Dariana Vasquez, who attended Vista Real, won first place out of 58 entries for designing her the annual poster to be used in the Ventura County Fair. So that's someone from Santa Paula High School District. Dariana said that she designed plays for middle school. She designed the sets for plays and painted them in her middle school before she took a whole year in high school before going on independent study at Vista Real in Santa Paula. I looked at the poster. There was a very small picture of it in the paper. It was difficult to see, but there was a cow, a horse, and a pig, and there was a beach scene, and there was a Ferris wheel, and there were palm trees. And the theme is a country fair with ocean air. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to Dariana because that's just so great that someone from Santa Paula did that. And also I wanted to say that I drove by Barbara Webster the other day. I always go home when I come from Fillmore the back way. And I drove past there and boy, that's looking beautiful. The parking lot, the entryway to the literacy center, everything, the little farm thing looks so great. It's just really coming along very well. So too bad Doug and left and the other gentleman left, but good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Thompson.
Not much to add since it's summertime, but I'm excited for this Friday and Saturday. I'm taking my last 2 Masters of Governance, and I'll be done. So I'm excited, learned a lot. So thank you to the district for sending me there, and
That was quick. I fast-tracked it. Good for you. Mr. Luna.
All right. The first thing I want to start with is within the superintendent's report, can we make sure we have a subcategory for committee updates? If there are none, there are none, but if there are, let's have it. That way we can talk about it when people actually get to meet. Anyways, next thing I want to talk about is what I personally had concern with in the committee update with the Santa Paula City Council the other day on July 2nd that Mrs. Colvin and I and Mr. Coyle went to. They talked about our SRO currently moving into patrol, moving back into patrol. And I'm just concerned that we may or may not have one in our schools when beginning of the school year. And so I'm just checking to see if we can figure out how to get one going and get the ball continue to roll on that so we can have an SRO on our school campus. The next thing I wanted to talk about is, can we just get a little, I couldn't find it anywhere, and I meant to email you, Mr. Cora, about this, but the plan for the McKevitt School refrigerator, I keep driving by it every time I go up and down 10th Street, and I think the design right now currently looks terrible, but that's just me. I'm a classic historic school, so if you can just send us what it's going to look like again, and that's it for that. And last but not least, we have also briefly spoken about the crossing guards. If we can follow up somehow on the crossing guard issue, I would love to see if we can afford it and figure out how we can get crossing guards at major locations that are needed for our school. Thank you.
I'll follow in finishing up about what we talked about at the joint meeting. Another thing is that with the lockdowns at the high school, there were a lot of concerns, a lot of parent concerns, a lot of stuff going on social media. So we talked about working together, the city and the district, when these emergencies happen at our school, and maybe have a command post, the details to be worked out between Dr. Kaur and the city, but a command post that parents could go to so that they can get up-to-date information, because you don't want the parents to just rush to the school. And that's kind of what happened. So maybe we can start the new year encouraging parents, getting information out that if there's something happening in the school, they don't have to troll social media or whatever, they can go to this place and get actual information. And I think that might calm a lot of parents on that. And then the other thing they talked about was they'd like to get back to having a citywide emergency drill. I know for years, the elementary district was, people used to come and watch because we had it so down pat. We've kind of fallen away from that, and I'm glad to hear that Mr. Arjun will be stepping up, being the safety. So working together with the city, because we had earthquakes, we had fire, we had floods in the past, so what locusts? We haven't had locusts yet. So anyway, and hopefully people are getting rested because school starts in 1 month. Thank you.
You're all very lucky because I don't have any public comments today. I've been gone for a couple of weeks, so I have nothing to add for tonight. So we will go on to future agenda items, which include district safety, maintaining a positive school climate, the ASB audit, district facilities and projects. Dr. Kaur.
Yes, President Urias. Just want to make sure that the public knows that they requested this while the ASB audit will be presented at the August board meeting. And also at the August board meeting, we've been talking about marketing. I've been working on some things. A full page, Shaluna, that you mentioned earlier, that's in the works with Ms. Reggie, Ms. Al. But we will have a district marketing video that I will share that will be posted on the website and available for us to have available to the general public, just promoting the great things that are happening in our district. So I'll share those then.
Wonderful. Good. Future board meetings. Special board meeting, July 24th, 2019. Special board meeting, July 31st, 2019. Regular board meeting, August 14th, 2019. So, with that,
Yeah, we'll have one. Monday is
the 15th.
Monday the 15th, which will be a closed session item, but that will be a special, will be 5 o'clock p.m. Yes.
So thank you. With that, I will adjourn this meeting at 7:44 p.m. Go home.